I look good. So hi, good Monday morning. It's not morning, as you can see. It's evening in New York, and this is what you get if you procrastinate on shooting an intro all day. Anyway, so while I'm in New York for vacation, then I thought that it would be nice to shoot a video with a couple of developer friends of mine who are like prominent, fascinating, brilliant people that I'm super proud to know, and just have a chat. Just start with talking about who they are and then jump up from there. And what we ended up with was talking about data visualization, data processing in JavaScript, Python, D3, like a bunch of that stuff. And it turned out to be a super interesting discussion. So if you're interested in looking a little bit into data science and whatnot, this episode should be really nice for you, I think. Before we get on with that, though, I would like to read today's sponsor, which is Brilliant. Thank you, Brilliant. Brilliant is a problem-solving website that teaches you how to think like a computer scientist. If you're interested in machine learning and linear algebra and all that other math that goes on behind it, Brilliant is your friend. They have interactive challenges with interesting increasing difficulty. It's kind of like a game with a sense of progression. It's really satisfying. Use brilliant.org/FFF when signing up to let them know that you came from here. Also, if you are one of the first 200 to use that link, you will get 20% off an annual subscription if you get that. Check them out after the show. The link is also in the episode description.
That's amazing.
There we go. Something like that. Ah, that's fine.
Is this my good side? I can't tell.
Like who? Like do
We're very small.
Is it a thing with good sides or not? Perhaps you can drop it a little bit as well, right?
I don't know. I always hear people say that, so I'm just saying that. But I'm pretty sure I don't have a good side.
Both of your sides are good?
No, I was going to say the other way. They're both equally bad.
That's really good.
Wait, but they are saying that you have a good side. Is it? But
right,
they don't tell
I don't
you
know which
side?
one it is.
That's like really...
I would like to know. Please let me know which is my good side.
Yeah, that's very valuable information. We can start like, okay, so we're going to do this. Like, I'm going to do some introductions for the people that don't know you. So this is going to be put up on my channel, but people don't know who you are necessarily. Daniel, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure. My name is Dan Shiffman. That's my name. I got that. I guess there's probably like 3 things that are most relevant to mention that I do and work with and participate in. One is I also have a YouTube channel called Coding Train, where I do a lot of coding tutorials. I could say more about that. I also teach at a program here in New York City called ITP. It's Tisch School of the Arts, New York University. And then I also work on this thing called the Processing Foundation, which is a nonprofit entity that manages, it does a lot of different community and education initiatives, but also maintains creative coding educational software toolkits, things that are open source, like the JavaScript library P5.js, original processing software, which is Java-based, and then there's also a Python processing, which I don't know how to use.
I didn't know that existed.
I do know how to use it, but I'm slightly allergic to Python.
You don't.
Yes,
yeah.
No, don't ask me any Python coding questions.
Yeah, exactly. You probably shouldn't sell that to you because you're probably like anti-allergic to Python.
Actually,
maybe, yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Shirley. My name is Shirley Wu. I think the title I finally settled on for myself is Independent Creator of Data Visualizations. Yeah, it took me 2.5 years to do this, but I'm basically a freelance software engineer, and I concentrate on data visualization within that, and I do the whole data design code process for all of my clients, and a lot of my clients are either kind of journalism, so like The Guardian, Google News Labs actually, or they're more for like internal data analytics kind of things. So that's basically what I do. Yeah.
So what does that entail technically? Like what do you build the visualizations in?
Yeah, so I started out as a front-end engineer, and I've kind of been like in that domain and haven't branched out like I was planning to like 5 years ago. And so everything I do is in JavaScript. There was a time in which I was like, I will not be pigeonholed into this language.
As we all have that phase. And then we just like slowly just get into it.
Yeah, and then that was the phase in which I was like, I'm going to do Python for all of my data processing and cleaning. And then I realized that I was like 2x slower in Python than I was in JavaScript. And after, just because like I had at that point been like using JavaScript for years and like nothing else. And I swear I had a like semi-proper computer science education where, you know, I was taught like Python and Java and C. I don't know how to use any of that anymore. So yeah, I also don't, and yeah, so after a month of Python, I was like, this is really inefficient. And I went back to Node.js.
Get it. Mariko, who are you?
Hi, I'm Mariko. What do I do? I'm a web developer.
Yes.
I work for Google Chrome's web developer ecosystem team, which means we are a group of web developers building webby things and talking about webby things within browser engineering team. So half of our work is talking about what's coming to the browser to people like you all, to talk about like, you know, hey, these features are coming. And then another half of the job is to talk to browser engineers saying, hey, here's how web developers are building. You know, these APIs maybe should be this, or like we want these features in browser, so natively supported. So those communication work. I've been trying to carve out my title called Draws Planer.
Oh, I love it.
So I do a lot. So it, like, because of that job, I do a lot of like blog posts and like talks and like slides and like things. So within that, I try to put my touch by hand drawing diagrams of things. I use a lot of metaphors and drawings to communicate technical concepts. So I've been trying to sneak in, like whenever they say, oh, we're having conference and we need your bio, I just like sneak in Draws Planer and then see if they accept me to have that.
I like
so far at the Chrome Dev Summit, they did. So I think that's my official title.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Was it you that had like some kind of knitting open source project as well?
So the way this job happened was, so I was a front-end engineer. Well, I was JavaScript engineer. I was doing server side and then also front-end side. I was doing software engineering at like text editor startup thing. And while there, I started doing knitting with JavaScript side project that involves a lot called what is that?
So
is there a machine that does knitting?
Yes. So there is a thing called knitting machine that's from 80s that has microchip that talks binary. Somebody reverse engineered how to send that data to them. So there was a Python code to do that. And I was like, oh, I can write a Node code to do the same thing because it's just sending a buffer. So that was one project of me saying like, hey, so I have this image. I like do image filters and changing the color and things because like Yarn doesn't come in 252 colors, right?
Yeah.
Like you only have like limited choice of color. So if you have like, you know, a cat picture that you want the sweater, you have to do like reduce the colors, do the dithering and all of that.
Is this how you made this sweater?
Not exactly this sweater, but I did figure out how to draw this precisely by using my software. So, like, you know, you can do like image processing. That was part of my knitting project. Putting data into the knitting machine. That was part of my knitting project. And then there's like two schools of knitting programming persons.
Wait,
the person
schools of knitting programming.
One of these knitting machines.
Can they do battle?
Like, yes, it's a rabbit hole.
Okay. Okay. I'm very experienced with rabbit holes. I spend a lot of time in that.
So a lot of people go deep into hardware and figure out their like DIY hardware stuff. No. But I went into a software side. So I have a project called Sweaterify, which is just kind of like started as a joke of like, oh, make your own ugly sweater. So it's a Canvas app saying upload your selfie. And then I will put it into a like sweater template image, and then you can download to tweet it. But also like you have a holiday mode, and then I put like cheeky like reindeer and things.
Where can I get one of these sweaters?
I want it.
That's
because I'm planning a holiday special.
That's also I feel like a common question. We should talk about it.
Yes, I actually my brother's girlfriend has this thing with ugly holiday sweaters. So she has one new one every year. Like I would love this.
So for my personal production, I can.
I have made a production for Paul Lewis, who you did the video. So he has a scarf of like his show logo thing that I made him when he left our team. I was like a gift. Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time.
So a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, you should do Etsy shop," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Making those sweater takes like a week. Yeah, pricing point." Software engineering job.
Doesn't work.
You should outsource it to a third party that will take care of all of that for you. You just send them like the design, and they will like knit, ship, etc.
Or like it's just software engineering price. It's like made by real software engineer, like handmade by software engineers, like grass fed by Brooklyn hipsters.
Each stitch is a binary, by the way.
$4,000.
So that's
sell it to Wall Street people who look down on software engineers. Like,
so that was like for a while my side project, and that's how I kind of got into speaking at a conference or writing blog about it, because I was just doing this like projects and people gave me opportunity to talk about those things. And then when the timing was right, my team was hiring, and I was like, I talk about JavaScript in the form of knitting. But I can talk about JavaScript. Like I'm interested in like browsers, like performant Canvas, and like how to write performant JavaScript code with a lot of data. So yeah, that's how this job happened.
Brilliant.
So how long have you been here for?
Almost 2 years. 2 years in April.
What you also work with Jay Garchable from time to time.
So that's the same team.
And you do I see you doing a bunch of DevRel videos and shooting videos.
Yes.
Do you do that in this building or like?
So we have one studio in this building that we shoot. But London, where Jake is based, they also have a studio there. Yeah. So all of their HTTP 203 and supercharged video, they're not shooting at the real cafe, even though it looks like it. They have a fake set in London office. It's like tiny corner.
All right.
But that's how it works.
Yeah.
It's we are very fortunate that there is a support to do those things.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess we'll link to whatever your channel. God, I keep forgetting. It's there. That corner or that corner.
What?
Where the cards?
Where do you? Oh, the cards.
YouTube cards. I will link in one of those corners.
No, it's definitely this corner, right?
Yeah, this.
Is that mirrored? That's mirrored. So maybe it's actually this corner.
Exactly. That is
man.
It's harder than you think to point. One thing that I while you were talking that I wanted to get back to is Python versus JavaScript as data languages.
Okay.
Because right now it feels to me like Python is it's the language that data scientists tend to use and but whenever I've used it, I've kind of this would be so easy to make in JavaScript. I keep coming back to that. I mean, it seems to me like the what JavaScript would need in order to start grabbing that share is some kind of equivalent to NumPy, because it feels like NumPy is what really keeps
I was just going to say, so actually, in some sense, that Google's JavaScript version of TensorFlow has that built into it.
Oh.
So TensorFlow.js actually, what it essentially is underneath the hood is a highly optimized, WebGL compatible NumPy. Of course, you can then do all sorts of machine learning stuff with that, and that's really what people are using it for. But the core library is really just math with arrays of numbers.
It's actually really cool to know. So I was going to say that proper data engineers, I think, actually proper data people, I think, use Python. I'm not an actual proper data engineer. So
Who is a proper engineer? That's
I've heard about that.
Yes, I've also heard about real engineers.
I think Netflix has actual data engineers. So Netflix, Uber. I'm guessing.
They gotta be here in this building somewhere. Proper engineers.
Right. What do they look like? What do they eat? I've always heard you're not a real developer.
I've been told that I'm not an engineer. My fiance is a mechanical engineer. And he's you're not actually an engineer. And I'm like, you're right.
All right.
But so I don't actually use Python, and for my own purposes of fetching data. So when I program and grab from APIs, or when I'm like cleaning data, I find like JavaScript to be perfectly fine. And I actually think a lot of my friends that do data science, they actually use R.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but I'm feeling like if you just give JavaScript another year or two, I feel like.
But I think it also depends, like, if what you're trying to do is more sort of like pure data science where the end result is kind of like, I need to get this like number out versus trying to communicate an idea or make something interactive or easily shareable, like being able to do this stuff in the browser with JavaScript, like gets you that extra piece. So I don't view one as necessarily better or worse, but it's just a different, of course. Well, I can't wait to read the comments of this video. But I do, you know, for me, it's like I'm excited about JavaScript because with students that I work with, if I can just send a URL, does it start recording at 30 minutes?
Maybe it does. Maybe it does. That would have been interesting. Like, no, but it's only been 19 minutes, so it's probably like, it didn't stop to...
Maybe was it not recording from the beginning?
No, it probably... No, it definitely
was.
It
I saw
definitely
the
was.
red icon.
God, like, that is the nasty thing about, like, not using gear that you are not completely used to all the time. It's like this is camera I use sort of often, but it's kind of like I still haven't learned all the nooks and crannies of it. But it's fine. I will just replace it with like pictures. It's like,
but you still have the sound, right? I guess.
Yeah, but perhaps I can do
interesting. Animated.
Yeah.
We give animated versions of ourselves.
Oh no! Yeah, I just do the thing where
drawsplaining.
No, the Monty Python thing. Like where we just do the floppy heads.
Oh, I love that.
What were we saying?
I was babbling about JavaScript.
No, Python. One was not better than the other.
Yes.
Which is.
I one time went into like long Twitter conversation of like if you should use Python or JavaScript for data like analysis or whatever, because I started as a like internal tools engineer was my first kind of job as a programmer.
Yeah.
Before that, I was product manager. So like I learned to code and then kind of switched the team and things. So like it was like, you know, all right, you have a lot of data business people. Let me make data visualization for you. And then that's around the time I met Shirley. And then I switched job that was Python shop. And then they gave me opportunity to learn Python on the job. So it was like great. And then I was just like hooked on Python. Like, oh, Python is so good. Like Python for like, you know, data, great. So I just like had a big JSON file, a CSV or something, a data source. And I was trying to get to a minimized data that I just needed for this visualization. And then basically a one-time operation of like taking the data out of it. Yeah. And I was just like writing Python code and I was like tweeting like, oh, Python is so nice. Like array that they're like iterable arrays. Like, oh, it's so nice. And then somebody said that like, oh, JavaScript can do the same thing. And I was like, oh, it feels like slow. I had no idea. Like I had no, like, it was so new to me. I had no like, you know, information to back it. And I went into like some people just sending me gist of like, you can do this way and it should be as fast. And I'm like, thank you. But it came down at the end.
Speed is overrated.
Yeah. God,
time
you're
is a
just
social
dropping
construct.
them now. It's true. It's true.
But like, I only had that Python shop job for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I kept doing data visualization project. But it came down to me that it's just like what's familiar with you.
Right.
Because like most of the time what you're only doing is like iterating through the line items.
Right.
And then finding the information you want, the key value, and then put it into different JSON.
Yeah.
And then for that, like Python or Node or JavaScript, like doesn't matter, like whichever you're comfortable. And I was way more comfortable to write for loop in JavaScript than figuring out like Python loopy things. Yeah. So I just like went back to like, I'm just gonna use JavaScript.
I feel like unless I'm doing like really, really intense data analysis, I really don't think I need Python. And which is probably also a chicken and egg thing where I haven't done a really, really intense data analysis because I don't want to go into Python.
But in some sense, it also depends on like, there are certain packages and libraries for Python that may not have like an obvious, easy equivalent, like NLTK. Not that I'm some expert in NLTK, but the natural language toolkit that's in Python is just kind of this very like, you know, sort of like the ubiquitous the ubiquitous like historical like standard for doing natural language processing. And there are like I've used because I teach like my classes with JavaScript. Like, look, there's like Node Natural and there's this other text analysis thing. And now maybe you could use TensorFlow.js and the Node version. But there isn't that like historical standard of years and years and years and years of material.
Oh,
like,
makes sense.
That kind of tool. But I agree. Like if you're like for me, like if I'm just iterating over the array, like I'm going to do that where I kind of know how to do that.
One thing I did when I was sort of learning to use JavaScript was like, I learned JavaScript first as like a coding language, but then it was just like, oh, I have as a knowledge of like how code works. And then I was still doing like business job. And I thought like, oh, it'd be cool if like I already deal with data and then I'm comfortable with code. It'd be cool. My next step would be like data science, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like business intelligence. So I did like one of like R Coursera data science class and I learned R. And, you know, R has a lot of good features for like having like, you know, the quantile data or like plotting and then all of that. And then I went into data visualization. So I was dealing with a lot of JavaScript and I was using underscore to just pluck the data and then filter the thing.
which is really nice. So like when I need to do any kind of data processing, I just fall back to like underscore or R or Lambda or any of those languages, which is like makes it so easy to process things.
So one of kind of like practice project that I did was taking R's nice functions like quantiles or median that underscore didn't support, but underscore support a mixins. So you can write a basically pure like loop functions.
Oh, so
that you can use
like
as so I have my own
mixin.
I have my quantile mixin.
But there's also so I use Lodash now, but there's also like simple statistics is a JavaScript like or library that does all of the like everything for statistics, and then D3 actually also has a lot of like data like array methods that will help for like what you need to visualize the data.
There's a JavaScript library called Simple Statistics.
Yeah.
What? How
There's
can
a job. There's a come up with anything. There's a JavaScript.
Yes,
library.
sure.
Basically, so I also give some talks, and I give talks, two types of talks. One is about like general things I've learned doing data visualization, and then the other type of talk is using D3 with like React, or I'm actually gonna stop talking about React because I stopped using React, and I'm gonna stop.
I just learned what React was last week.
Really?
Yeah. From MPJ.
It became like Daniel was like the idea was that Daniel teaches me D3, but then like,
P5.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Go.
That's very simple. It's a letter and a number.
Yeah.
The next week we'll do.
And you have an M5 now.
ML5.
Oh, sorry,
ML5.
ML5.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I have an ML5, but I mean,
like you're very good at naming things.
Why? Yeah. I mean, these names are not mine. Just along for the ride. It's a letter and a number.
Engineers like also good at it. But either way, like we ended up like, but how do we like get automatic reloading? And I was like, let's just do create React app, and then we just how like the episode turned into like an exploration of how you would integrate P5 and React and how they would function well together. So we taught each other things back and forth. It turned out really nice. You can find the episode.
Just point to all the directions.
I actually tried to do that once. I used to do a lot of D3 with React, and now I do D3 with Vue. And I can talk about how much I like Vue.
Please do.
But we can do that in a little bit. I did try to do P5 within React, and I found that P5 I couldn't figure out how to make P5 modular to import it into React. And then I stopped using P5.
Right. No, it's like I have an answer to this question, but I'm like not sure. Like we just went through this for like 2 hours the other day. So I'm not but I think just that in summary, to summarize that, what's sort of interesting about that exploration is that P5 at its core is really designed to be a beginner-friendly educational environment. It scales to doing many exciting and amazing
You have like
things.
animations
You can build real projects with it. I don't mean it's like some sort of toy library, but the way it does some certain things are non-standard in JavaScript.
Yeah.
So in order to be extra beginner-friendly, so mixing that with things that are, I guess, like really strictly standard you get into a lot of funny business.
Because I was trying to use the P5 noise function for the SF MoMA project I did.
Right.
And then I also use like random Gaussian and like these kind of things that like, isn't in Lodash, isn't in D3,
Right.
isn't in simple statistics. And I was trying to like load that in. And I think I ended up having to be like import P5. And then I had to access with like P5.prototype random Gaussian.
Yeah.
Is that what the,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is probably not proper way to
well,
do
we can have a side. I would love to like actually have a separate like technical discussion about this because I'm very curious about these kinds of integrations. But
So what about D3 and Vue and React and how they integrate? Talk a little bit about that because like I really haven't gotten into Vue because I just looked at it and it seems like it improves a little bit on React, but I'm really good at React, so I figured that I'm gonna wait for the next cool thing after Vue before I make the effort.
just because I don't know anything, React came before Vue.
Yeah.
And then React I know is maintained by Facebook. Is Vue an independent open source project or is there an entity that maintains it as well?
It's independent. Yeah. So Vue is originally, I think, so I think D3 was 2011, and I'm just putting D3 in there because that's the thing I use.
But that's a completely different thing than like React and Vue, which
Completely
are
different.
what do you call those
completely.
things? Front-end frameworks?
Yes, they're like so. Okay, so I think there's to answer your question about D3 React Vue. So D3 was 2011.
Yes.
It's not one of those. I think people call it like MV star frameworks,
Right.
but React is.
Have we talked about what
Vue-
D3 is for the people that don't know it?
No.
Perhaps we should.
Yeah. So D3 is stands for data-driven documents. That's why it's 3Ds, and that's why it's D3. And what it does is it's this really, really large library to help you translate your raw data into what you need to draw onto the screen, because the web is kind of it's kind of weird for drawing shapes on the web. You either use SVG or Canvas, and with SVG you have like elements like rectangles and circles, but you also have to specify, the XY positions where everything should be drawn, or the radii or something. And raw data wouldn't have XY positions or radii. So D3 is the library that helps you kind of like translate, like, let's say you have, temperature data, so you might want to translate like temperature into the Y positions, or so it's really helpful for doing that. It's really helpful for calculating like layouts like trees or like network diagrams. So that's what D3 is.
And just it's also I think important to note that D3 is SVG rendering and P5 is entirely canvas based. So there's like some similarities between these libraries. So there's a huge amount of differences, obviously, but that's one kind of important distinction.
Yeah, well, actually, D3 since version 4 has actually also supported canvas rendering.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay, so what do I know?
But yeah, so I think version 4 was 2016, and that was when it became modular, and that was when Mike Bostock, who's kind of like the core person that does it, I guess he was like, Canvas is really important for performance, because when you do data visualization, you might have thousands of data points or like tens of thousands, and you can't do SVG is not performant after about 1,000. About 3,000, and then if you're animating any of that SVG, it's not performant after like 1,000. So it has really great Canvas support now.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
So side note, when I was building that ugly sweater generator, my approach was so basically it just your binary, like 2 color pictures, translated into a V-shaped knit stitch, and then I just lay them. So like each stitch is 1 pixel in the image. My first iteration was each of them are SVG object, and then I just like lay them out. Of course, it's gonna go in like even like 100 by 100 pixel image, gonna go into so many SVG elements, and it was just like unusable. And I was just like,
I didn't know this.
I need to use Canvas for this, and then change it to Canvas and just smooth.
Wow, didn't know that SVG had such performance problems.
Yeah, because SVG is essentially like everything you want to draw is a single DOM element. So if you can imagine, like, if you have 1,000 things you're drawing, that's 1,000 DOM elements, and that's even with modern browsers, especially if you're going to be transforming that, like manipulating that in any way, like most browsers would be like, what are you doing to me?
So I have like this grass is greener thing of like I always do everything in Canvas, and I keep thinking, oh, SVG, that must be the most wonderful place to be, because everything is like the data itself, and it's not just rendered to pixels, and then you can't. So I think I aspire to the SVG.
And SVG is so like elegant from a React standpoint, because everything becomes like these DOM elements, and like the diffing thing like meshes really really well, so it's like super alluring to use it. And then you like build your entire application, and then you hit that limit, and you're like, no.
In some ways, I think that Canvas is actually easier to use, at least from a data visualization perspective. So a lot of times, what we might do with data viz is like you might want to translate from like one state to the next. Like if you have a data set about, I don't know, the state of the economy in 1 year, and then you want to animate that to the next year or something. Traditionally, when it was just D3 has a way where you have to like, you know, give it the first set of data and then give it the second set of data, and D3 will tell you, okay, so these are the new things that you have to create, you know, to do this. These are the things that you want to like, you know, take out of the DOM. These are the things that you want to update to the DOM, and that's what it's called, the enter, update, exit pattern. And that's like a really shit ton of stuff to keep track of as soon as you have like, you know, thousands of things you need to like keep track of. So Canvas is really nice because all you have to do is like, and at this millisecond, draw this. At this next millisecond, draw this, et cetera, et cetera.
One thing I always think about Canvas, though, is that I always think of Canvas design-wise as like, oh, it's this big block that sits on the page. Whereas I think about like, when I think of D3 and SVGs, I think about it as like little drawings and animations and shapes all integrated within the content itself. But in sort of like, you know, one of the things I love to look at are these like explorable explanations, like Nikki Case's work, for example. And so for some reason I imagine that it would be that SVG and data viz having like an essay, an interactive essay about data, that doing that sort of stuff would be harder somehow to do with Canvas in terms of, but I guess that's not actually true. You have just lots of little canvases everywhere.
Yeah, so actually, I think the hardest thing about Canvas is interactivity, because like that's probably also what you're alluding to.
Right,
because it's just one big thing. So if you can't, there's no built-in support for like clicking on that circle or clicking on that.
Yes, this is what I was thinking about.
So, but the really nice thing is D3 also has functionality like Quadtree. It like has this module called Quadtree where you feed it all of the positions of your data, and it will kind of, the quadtrees are like, then it will subdivide, and it's this like tree that makes.
I have a video tutorial.
Cool. Is it going to be like?
I don't know. It's not on this different channel. Sorry, everybody. Go on.
So
Quadtree Shiffman coding train. Google it.
It's a really, really fast like search. It's like n log n, right? And so it's a fast way of searching. So all I do is I have a canvas limit. I'll draw everything, and because when I'm drawing, I've already calculated the data and the XY positions of the data. I'll then take that data, pass it into D3 Quadtree, and then anytime a person clicks, and D3 also has like really like helpful, it's called like D3.mouse, and then it will gives you exactly the XY position relative to the container, so you don't have to do any of that like the top of the window document and the top of my like thing bullshit. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Like there's a lot of Mormons in the JavaScript community that complain about it, but they've already left my channel by now, actually.
So like what D3 gives you is like nice way to interact with Canvas or SVG. It's like, you know, in my, like again, bringing on my knitting things, I have exact same thing of like, oh, somebody like click event, or well, somebody hit this coordinate, figure out where that was, figure out what should be underneath, and then figure out what I need to redraw it.
But if you're, one thing I've always wondered about D3 is it looks, when I see people use it, it's so powerful and beautiful in all the different examples and projects I'm amazed by, but it doesn't strike me as necessarily a library that you would start with if you're like learning to code, or if you're like first doing data viz, or is that not actually true? There are ways to kind of like learn. Is it beginner friendly?
I think that it's actually like D3, like it's almost harder to learn if you know a lot of programming, because the paradigm is so
it's got its own thing.
I completely agree. So I had a basic idea of what JavaScript is. I was able to, like, you know, buttons, count up, click thing. And then I went into, I know JavaScript now, and I can do like, you know, let's do data visualization. And I'm like, there's like D3. And what's great about D3 is that they have a lot of examples. So at the beginning of my career, I went into D3 thinking like, they have a lot of code I can copy. It'll be fine. It'll be easy. And it was easy. The first one was like, oh, I can just have like circles and bar chart. Next step was really hard.
Yeah.
Then you realize that you need to do something creative, that you want to do something outside of the box. And then you have to figure out this D3 language.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is very particular flavor of JavaScript.
I have two parts to the answer to that question. The first part is I went in, and D3 was the first JavaScript library I learned other than jQuery. And I just thought that all JavaScript libraries were this hard, and I just kind of like barreled through it with like purely no idea that this was like kind of weird and not like standardly JavaScript library. But like I had to do it for work, so I was like, this must be how it's always like, and so I kind of just barreled through it. But the second part of that answer is actually I've been thinking a lot about that problem that like D3 does have a little bit of a learning curve when it starts because the way you think about it is different. So I actually now have a workshop on front-end masters that's called D3 for React developers. So if you already know a lot of React, then it actually makes getting into D3 a lot easier. And the reason for it is that I think the main learning curve for D3 is kind of the enter, update, exit pattern. But that's actually basically how React works under the hood. And so if you realize that, then you only need D3 to do the data calculations of like, the XY coordinates or like that D3 mouse or like, the quad tree kind of things. But you don't have to use D3 for like the actual DOM updates. You just tell React like, these are my like SVG elements. This is the data, like this is the state I want you to render. Next state, this is the state I want you to render. And you don't have to do the actual like hard part of D3 at all. So that's the workshop.
Another thing I've kind of wondered about libraries like this is like D3 is, so it's one thing if let's say you get hired for a job and it's like, please, here's our data. I would like to see a bar chart, please. And D3 has that. You put in the code, you find the example, you adapt it, you have the bar chart of your data. But for something like what you worked on with like SF-MoMA, for example, if you're trying to kind of invent
Have we talked about that?
Maybe not. But so
yeah, all right. Finish the thing, but then we're gonna talk about that. But I guess that was so cool.
So I didn't mean that. But more broadly, if you're trying to invent your own language for data visualization and come up with new ideas with your own design that's unique or creative, does the library sometimes limit does something like one thing we've been always conscientious about with processing in P5 is we try to build in such a way that you don't end up with people making things that look like, oh, that was made with this tool, like that has there's not like an automatic effect that like that's really cool looking that everybody's using in every project kind of thing. So do you struggle with that in using libraries or no? Because it's really go ahead.
So I actually you probably also haven't, but I really dislike libraries built on top of D3 that are like charting libraries because to me, I think D3 is the right amount of flexible and the right amount of open-ended, kind of like what you were saying, where I can literally just pick and choose the things that I want out of that library and I don't feel any obligation to use other parts of the library. Whereas with a lot of charting libraries, they're like, you can build a bar chart, but that's all you can do. For me, I do a lot of like very non-standard visualizations. I don't strictly just do a bar chart. I don't strictly just do a line chart or any of those. And it's all very fluid. So I only ever use like D3 itself, and I'll use I use Vue these days, and I'll use Green Sock for animation, and that's all I use.
So talk a little bit about your other your weird visualizations, like the SF-MoMA. I want to hear about the SF-MoMA project, because was that the one with trees?
Yeah, the flowers and trees. Yeah.
So tell me about that. How did that came to be, and what was it, and what was it?
A lot of my stuff are more in that direction than like what you might think of as data visualization. I don't know if like I should be showing it, or like how do you want to do it?
Wait, what is that project?
Oh, do you want to see this one?
Yeah. Hold on, but did you first screen record?
Okay, screen record it so that people know what we're looking at.
First you need to
okay. Well, hold on. I just need to replace this.
Get rid of all your secret passwords first, and then.
Yeah, so this is the SF-MoMA one, and this one was basically what they asked me to do. I've noticed this bugs me. This is a bug right here. let's ignore it. After I pointed it out. So what they asked me to do is last year, summertime, they released this program called Send Me SF MoMA. And you can text this number and you can say like, send me art, send me love, send me this emoji, like send me, and they got like 5 million texts. And what they would do is then they would send back a artwork that they think matched that request. And then they came to me and another creative agency and asked us to like do something with that data. And so what I did was 5 million is a lot. So I decided to concentrate on just 5 individuals and kind of their interaction with the service for a week. And the way that you read it is each one of these leaves or flowers are an individual text that they sent. So a flower means that the request that they sent was something positive, like send me love, send me happiness. A leaf meant it was something neutral, like send me abstract or send me art. And then when it's one of these kind of like empty leaves, it means that they ask for something negative. So it's like something like send me death, send me, I don't know, I've seen, there isn't that, they don't actually ask for that many negative things, which is really cool. And it's colored by basically the artwork that they received back. So I extracted, I think, the top few colors, and then I'll like kind of watercolor effect it in. And then you can also interact with it to kind of see the order in which they ask for things. So it's really cool to see, like, for example, this person asked for something bakery, and then they got this thing that was the bakery, which somehow inspired them to ask for like, send me smile. And they got this kind of like, sorry to the artist, like slightly creepy looking thing that looks like it's crying. And then this person asked for send me tears. And so like this kind of like the way that the text interactions with Send Me SF MoMA kind of affected their mood is kind of what I was going for. So you can
so each of them are drawn in D3?
No, so this one was an interesting exploration in tech. So this is essentially what did I do? I have actually a really long write-up for data sketches, which is this project I do with my friend Nadi, and Nadi Bremer and I, and we have basically 12 projects.
Before.
Oh,
This is so cool.
So we, have a basically a topic, and then we'll basically go out and find a data set for that topic, and then we'll do the whole visualization from start to finish, and then we do write-ups about the whole process. So you can actually read the whole technical, like how we went and got the data. So this is kind of like all the data I had on hand, how I decided to go about like prototyping. So then this is kind of like, I saw Tyler Hobbs' like watercolor effect, and I really wanted to recreate that. And this is like expectation versus reality.
Oh my god, it's so cool.
And then then he helped me. Various people helped me, and I got it right. And then this is how it looks like with actual data. And then I was in Japan at the time, so then I started being like, I want to make flowers, and so I did. So this is actually when I was looking through Perlin noise, because if you notice, each of these strokes are varied in like kind of like thickness, so it looks like it's hand drawn.
Yeah.
And so what I did was, I did SVG paths, and then went through every path with like Perlin noise, and did this in Canvas. So there's a lot of things overlaid. I think I only used D3 for this one to do like basic like scaling. These actual shapes are basically hand calculated. And then I have links to code like every single step of the way. But this is a combination of it's just pure, like, a canvas Bezier curve commands. I use Greenstock to do the actual kind of timing of when they'll show up, when they'll draw. And I use Vue to kind of just manage, like very basic interactions. Yeah.
We are about at 50 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
And that's not the problem. The problem is that the battery is running out on that camera. But it's kind of like, I think it's kind of like a good place to wrap up. And I think we should finish up where people can find you online.
Oh, yeah. So my Twitter handle is sxywu. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still do Twitch streaming? No? Yes?
Yes. Well, I'm trying to get back into it. Like my personal life has like exploded in the last year.
Yeah,
and
so people should follow you so that puts social pressure on you.
Well, okay, wait, hold on. I gained like 600 followers on Twitch in the like 3 months. Like since in the 3 months I was not doing any streams, and I'm like, what happened here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to get back into it like January, February or so. But yeah, so I'm that handle everywhere: Twitch, Twitter, GitHub. My own website is .com, and yeah.
All right, brilliant.
Choo choo. Sorry. Just look for the trains. No. So Coding Train on YouTube, and I'm at Shiffman, which is no C, SHIFFMAN on Twitter.
All right.
And I'm kosamari, KOSAMARI on Twitter. I do not have YouTube, although I think we had like a long 3-hour conversation where you were telling me to start YouTube.
Yes, exactly.
Like
we can have
3
another
years
one
ago.
of those.
You're always welcome to come if both of you are always welcome to come do like a guest spot if you're in New York again or anytime you want to. We had a lot of fun last week.
Yeah, that was
Whenever
so much fun.
I
I strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
Whenever I do a like draw splaining, it usually end up, I call it tweet zine. One time I call it tweet zine with like 4 pictures, and then like it had like starting to end like story of like explaining technology. And then somebody said like, can you do your draw splaining thing on this topic? And I'm like, I like that, I'm stealing that. So every time I do draw splaining, it always end up in Twitter. So
Awesome.
that's where you can find.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're kidding me. Wow. That was so good.
Well, this is still recording. So
It is.
The
So
rainbows will appear.
And here's me again with a battery in the camera. Fantastic. I'm here to remind you that today's sponsor was Brilliant. If you are feeling like you should probably stop procrastinating on learning machine learning, Brilliant is your friend. Brilliant.org/FFF. Also, the same link is in the episode description. If you're new to the show, welcome. This was an episode of Fun Function. I release these every Monday morning, 0800 GMT. But you will forget that, so you can subscribe by clicking here or watch another episode right now by clicking here. I am MPJ. Until next Monday morning, stay curious.